Shabbat Shalom. I'm glad you're here to worship, to be in community. This sermon is for me. On May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, I became a grandfather. Thank you. Her name is Ruby. She's not even a month old. She's named for my wife Michelle's grandmother, Ruby. She is beautiful, brilliant, a being of wonder, created B'Tselem Elohim in God's image, with eyes that hold eternity and a grip that wraps around my finger and my soul. Amen. And you're making someone very happy too. She's the daughter of our son Daniel and daughter-in-law Noam, but they're incidental. I'm Papa now, like my father Kenny was, like his grandfather before him. And Michelle, she's Gingy, a nod to her red hair, her warm, radiant spirit, a name that dances with love and legacy. And this week we're flying Michelle's father Murray, my father-in-law Murray November, a congregant, Ruby's great-grandfather, up to Bend, Oregon, so he can meet her. 4 generations, 1 room, hearts overflowing. L'dor vador, from generation to generation, not as an abstract ideal, but as a baby cooing and an older man smiling, with sacred continuity vibrating between them. I know that not everyone here is a grandparent. Some of you are parents deep in the trenches of parenthood. Some have longed to have children or grandchildren, and that dream didn't come true. Some are estranged from children, from grandchildren, from Judaism itself. Some are children and have a life ahead, and the idea of children, let alone grandchildren, is so far in the distance. Some are watching grandchildren grow up in other faith traditions, and you're trying to figure out what legacy even means. And so this sermon, let it not just be for grandparents. It's about all of us, everyone who hopes to pass on something meaningful from our life to another life. Something sacred, something Jewish. Because the truth is, we are all ancestors in the making. This week's Torah portion, Bamidbar, includes a curious line. Ela toldot Aharon u'Moshe, b'yom diber Adonai et Moshe b'Har Sinai. These are the descendants of Aaron and Moses, the day that God spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai. And then it lists only Aaron's sons, Nadav, Avihu, Eleazar, Itamar, the priestly heirs. Where are Moses' sons? Gershom and Eliezer. The Torah is silent. Earlier in Shmot, in Exodus, we learned that when Moses was preparing to go down to Egypt to get our people out, Moses sent his wife and children back to Midian, to his father-in-law, rather than subject them to the dangers of Egypt. It was a decision born of love, perhaps, but it came at a cost, because his children missed out on the exodus from Egypt. They missed out of that intense, powerful experience at Mount Sinai. They missed the central stories of what it means to be a Jew. Can you imagine that? Vishinantam livanecha, the man who commanded us, teach these words to your children, doesn't get to do so himself because his children weren't there. One of my favorite new teachers, Dr. Tali Adler of Hadar, points out that in the book of Judges, Shoftim, 5 books of Moses, it's the very next one, we meet Moshe's grandson, Yehonatan, Jonathan, Ben Gershom, son of Gershom, Moses' son, who becomes a priest, catch this, to an idol. The Torah even tries to hide his lineage, calling him the son of Menashe instead of Moshe. Get it? Moshe, Menashe. Same words except for a nun, which in the Bible is suspended, a small one, hanging above his name like a spiritual footnote of shame. But the Talmud, Yerushalmi, offers a redemptive take. That nun is not a condemnation, it's an invitation, we're taught. If Jonathan merits it, he is Moses' grandson. If not, he aligns with Menashe. The legacy hangs in a balance. His fate isn't fixed. Catch this, it's chosen. Each of us, like Jonathan, gets to choose what our legacy is, what we inherit, and what we carry on. Because Jewish continuity isn't biological primarily, it's intentional. It's intentional. That's what was going on earlier today when Rabbi Lana and I schlepped across the valley to the American Jewish University, where two of our congregants, Aubrey Rothschild and Jean-Christophe de Rothschild, made a choice. After years of study, they sat before a Beit Din, a Jewish court of 3 rabbis, with Rabbi Julia also, and then immersed in the mikvah and came out anew, each as a Jew. And we will celebrate them on Sunday night as part of our Shavuot study, 7 o'clock with Rabbi Lana. Come here, come for dessert, come for learning, come to celebrate them. And they're sitting right there, 2 new Jews. It's intentional. As parents decide to read books to their children, perhaps Jewish books from PJ Library, that give the stories of our people and the stories that our people hold dear, so that the next generation rises up and knows. And the intentionality was also on display in the midst of sadness on Wednesday, when we said goodbye to a very, very dear person, co-founder of our Orami village, Judy Friedman, of blessed memory. Our friend Judy died this past week, a matriarch of empathy, a master of kindness, a creator of community. And at her funeral, this intentionality was on display as 2 of her 3 grandchildren, the third was 4 years old, narrating some of what was going on in the most beautiful of ways. But the other 2, Ayla, 17 years old, and Xander, 14, stood up to speak. They eulogized Grammy. They spoke of her constant presence, of her gentle interest, of her way of showing up with warmth and curiosity, non-judgmental, with love. She had bags of cereal in her nightstand for when the kids were there, and always snacks throughout the car for when she was taking them places. And if you went shopping and got some outfits, the FaceTime was always a necessity to show Grammy the outfits you've got. This wasn't formal Torah that Judy was passing on, but it was living Torah, embodied, loving, lasting. Isn't this what we all hope for? Our values in action. That those we love will speak about how we lived and how we made them feel. And God willing, if we do our job right, it will be with blessing and goodness. The book of Proverbs says that children's children are the crown of their elders. Deuteronomy commands, teach your children and your children's children what you saw at Sinai. The Talmud reminds us that anyone who teaches Torah, whether it's the written Torah or the lived Torah, it's as if they stood at Sinai themselves. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs taught that when a grandparent blesses a grandchild, it is with a full heart, a love untroubled by fear or friction. And Rabbi Paul Kipnis says, get me that grandchild in my arms, and I will teach her and love her and spoil her. May she grow with health and love. How do we do this? To our children, for our children, our grandchildren, our students, our friends, our nieces and nephews, the neighbors around the corner, the kids running through our area. What can we do, whether we are grandparents or not yet grandparents, or hopeful ancestors, or those who pass on our legacies to those we choose as our family or our loved ones? There's a fantastic educator and grandmother named Sharon Morton who was writing about simple sacred tools for transmitting Jewish legacy. Here are 4 of them. Number 1, be present and tell stories. It sounds so simple, but it's so powerful. Share where you come from, what you value, when you failed, what you hope for. Let them hear your voice, your Jewish voice, what Jewish holidays felt like, what you learned from your parents, where God or holiness or spirituality showed up in your life. Model your priorities. You want them to be giving? Give tzedakah, charity, and let them see you do that. You want them to value holidays, celebrate them big. Like candles on Shabbat, make kiddush and motzi, even if you're then going to go out to the commons or somewhere else and hang out. Even now, we teach because they watch what we do. Grandchildren learn what matters by watching how we spend our time and money, so be a member of a synagogue in Jewish organizations. And if you are, stay. And if you aren't, join and give and be active. They see, and they see when we stop after Bar Bat Mitzvah. They see when we stop, when they go off to college, and they understand how it's only so important. 3, learn their tech. FaceTime, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever it takes. And they will FaceTime you. And they will send you TikToks, and you'll send them back, and they'll sometimes respond. But they'll know you're living in their world. And ask questions, so many questions. When do you feel proud? What do you love? What are you curious about? And they will sometimes answer, and they will sometimes grunt, but they will always know you were interested. And for Michelle and me, we learned that you can't assume that our grandparenting will be helpful. So we asked Daniel and Noam, what's your favorite parenting book or parenting websites? Because even though Michelle and I wrote the book on Jewish spiritual parenting, literally, we wrote a book called Jewish Spiritual Parenting. It's on Amazon, and I don't know. We want to support them in their journey, not merely repeating ours. And parenting, like medicine and like math and new math and now newer math and the old math that's new again, has changed. And new wisdom, new tools, and it's not our job to run the show. It's to show up and bless. So this week, I will whisper to little Ruby Shema into her ears, connecting her to her inherited faith. Of course, I'll do that right after I whisper, say Papa, as my dad, Kenny, the Papa Goat, the greatest of all time, Papa, whispered across the country over a phone to our children who couldn't talk, couldn't crawl, could only drool, but they heard him, and a holy relationship began. Because it's not what they understand when they're young, when they're medium-sized, when they're older, when they're in college, when they are married, when they have kids of their own, when they're your neighbors or your friends, no matter who. It's not what they understand now. It's about the seeds we are planting early enough that they one day will take root when it's time. So whether you're grandparents or not grandparents, or feel cut off or grieve what might have been, but you are connected to other people all over of your age, older and younger, remember that the future, and the Jewish future, is not built just by biological grandparents. It's shaped by aunts and uncles and friends and teachers and synagogue members and village members and mentors who show up, who bless, who believe. You all are part of the sacred circle, and your love matters just as much. So from Moshe's silence to Judy's grandchildren, from a suspended nun to a name like Gingy, from Mount Sinai to our Ruby up in Bend, Oregon, this is the sacred story we carry. And each of us, each of you, every one of us, with full hearts and hopeful hands, gets to shape what comes next. To shape the legacy, to shape what Judaism looks like in the future, to pass it on as you pass on your love. So pass it on with your love. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.